Alright, so this video actually is for people that are marketing, looking to market a product or looking to market a service. Right? Why I have to give you this particular disclaimer is because I noticed a lot of people are consuming materials on the internet without knowing how important those things are for them. Right? So as much as we know that the internet is available, is an open resource where we can get materials from, you should be able to also know that not every advice is for you. As much as they look good and they sound true, they are not applicable at certain levels of businesses, right? So this particular video is tailored specifically for people that want to go into marketing a product or marketing a service, or actually are marketing a product already or a service. Right? I want this to be very, very plain as possible. All right, so let's first of all understand three concepts: affordability, awareness, and presumed quality. Yes, three things again: affordability, awareness, and presumed quality. Now, a lot of business people tend to make the mistake of placing affordability as primarily the price of the product. Right? So this is one mistake I don't want you to make. Right? So understand that affordability is a function of the pricing of the product or service, and number two, the logistics to the person that needs the product or the service. So it might be affordable to you that is in a particular location, but somebody else at a location that is a bit distant would also have that product in its environs, or that same service in its environs, and is going to judge affordability based off the price he is getting from a distant product and the amount of money he's going to spend to get that product to him, or the amount he's going to spend to get that service to him. Right? So the affordability idea is put into consideration the logistics of the buyer. In fact, a lot of times you can even do a backward integration to put into consideration what it costs you to even have the product before you even give it out. Right? All of these are what makes the pricing and the logistics a very important thing to consider when you are in the subject of affordability. So just don't make the mistake of saying it's affordable because you are putting a particular price in. No, it's affordable because there's a price that is accommodating, and then the logistics to getting the delivery of either the product or the service is also considerable. Right? All right, so the second one is awareness. Right? So awareness is one big form of one big part of the business world that, as a seller or as someone that wants to sell a product or a service, you should be very big on. All right, so the idea of awareness is how well is your marketing structured, right? How well is your visibility structured? How well does the market know you? You know, there is a popular saying that instead of owning the product or service, own the market. So instead of owning the factory, own the market. So the idea is, when you have a large audience of demand, you can outsource the factories. You can outsource the factories, but as much as you have the demand, but owning the product and then begin to scout for customers is going to have a big effect on your total revenue, your recurring revenue, right? So the idea is your visibility should be one powerful sector you should also look into. The idea again is three sectors. We're looking at selling products or services based off checking for affordability, checking for awareness, and then checking for presumed quality. So the idea of presumed quality is, how well is my product seen in the eyes of my customers? Now, this is where perception comes into play. Now, most people do not understand that perception is one of the biggest sales hack a lot of conglomerates are using today, right? So they understand that certain people are not buying a product because the product is nice, or certain services because the services are the best. They are buying it because of their personality, right? So there are certain people that want to inflate their ego. If you are a business person, you should understand your customers, right? So this person's perception of your business might not necessarily be the other person's perception, but there is an organic way to create singular perception. Now, so the Rolex brand, the luxury brands we have today are very beautiful. They've had a very, very great understanding of how to place themselves in the market. They understand that certain people are not buying a product because they need the product. They are buying it because the product helps them to define who they actually are, or who they want the public to see them as. Right? So the idea of presumed quality again falls back to the place of perception. How well is your product talked about? So in the place of visibility, which brings about your awareness, you're going to be very concerned about how well are people going to see me, because the perception they have of me is going to be a determinant to my presumed quality, right? So the idea of presumed quality is two things. I am going to presume the kind of quality I'm expecting from you based off the price I am seeing that you are offering your product or service. And then number two, based off the perception of how people reverence your product, or how well is your product tailored in the market, how well are you selling your story, right? So this idea of perception would have made me speak or say something very controversial, but let's not go there. The idea of perception is very huge in business, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be fact, but it has to be belief. So my presumed quality is going to take two toes here. How much am I putting my product in the market or service, and how well is my story being sold in the market, right? So these two things determine my presumed quality. And the three things we mentioned today based off trying to market a product or service is the affordability, which is based off price and the logistics, and then your awareness, which is based off your visibility structure, perception and all, and then your presumed quality, which is based off the price you are putting your product and service, and then the perception people have of your product or your service. And perception has to do with your branding, your visibility. How well is your product talked about? What storyline do people think of when they speak about your product in the market?